I was sitting here, getting my fair share of British cinema, watching Kind Hearts and Coronets, and then I got a notification on my phone. Went onto Twitter, checked out the latest from the Vancouver Canucks, and found out that GM Patrik Allvin announced the team has agreed to terms with defenseman Marcus Pettersson on a 6-year contract extension with a $5.5 million AAV. We've got Petey, D. Petey, and I guess, one of the words that's being tossed out there is meaty. M. Pettersson, you can put the M in there. 3 Petey. I'm not really too sure what the proper name is going to be. Maybe just Dragon, I don't know. But Marcus Pettersson has re-signed with the Vancouver Canucks, a move that nobody saw coming. Just kidding, we all knew that this was going to happen, right? We were just wondering on the term, what the dollar amount would be, etc., etc. I'm thinking about two things here from this contract signing. Firstly, and I think it's more of a secondary thought, what does this mean for Carson Soucy, who is also a left-handed defenseman on this team, who is making 3-something million, who's already been put into trade talks because Marcus Pettersson might have just taken away Soucy's spot in the lineup behind Quinn Hughes. You also have Elias Pettersson, who is signed on till 2027, I think it is, on an ELC, so that is already a very good defenseman in the National Hockey League. You can never have too many good defensemen, in my opinion, but from the Vancouver Canucks perspective, if they can gather enough good defensemen, package Soucy because he has not been good this season, get something of value in exchange, and give Soucy a bigger and better opportunity, then maybe that's a route they explore. If Carson Soucy was just playing good hockey, then we wouldn't be having these trade conversations. It'd be like, hey, you've got Petey, Hughes, Hronek, Myers, and Soucy, and you're looking pretty good. That's not even with Derek Forbort in the rotation. So this is fine when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks today. It's fine when it comes to the Vancouver Canucks over the next 6 years. A shutdown D-man that everybody in Vancouver has really come to love over the past few games. In just a couple of games, Marcus has already shown us the type of leadership, poise, and character that we want in a top 4 defenseman, Allvin said. He has a calming influence on the ice, uses his long reach and hockey smarts to break up plays, and he has a good first pass to help us create more offensively. We are extremely happy to get this deal done, and we look forward to working with him in both the short and long term. The reason I like the Frank Seravalli tweet is because Seravalli was the guy earlier this morning on Halford and Bruff who went out there and said that Marcus Pettersson, in his opinion, is a number 5 defenseman, who he isn't a top 4 guy. He doesn't give the Vancouver Canucks what they're looking for. They need puck-moving D. Marcus Petey is not a puck-moving D. Thus, he wonders whether or not the Canucks could have used that first-round pick to get a better defenseman. Upon being asked, hey, Jason Bruff asked Seravalli, what names come to mind? Seravalli doesn't even answer the question. He just dances around it. He avoids it. He doesn't give a straight answer. What an amazing segment on Vancouver radio earlier this morning. Everybody's been on Seravalli because of that hit. And I get it, Halford and Bruff, they don't want to go out there and talk smack about a guy that they were just interviewing and that they brought into their show and who's a frequent collaborator because they're going to see him next week. They're going to talk to him again next week. It always happens. It's a weekly segment on Sportsnet Radio. But it was interesting to see Bruff kind of go on to Seravalli, asking, okay, you don't think the Canucks use this first-round pick well? You don't think they made a good trade for a good enough asset? What other names were there? And Seravalli doesn't even answer the question. Canucks announced an extension for recently acquired defenseman Marcus Pettersson. AFP Analytics went out there and said this: it's a solid deal for Pettersson and the Canucks. The top 4 D-man gets an extra year over the projection, but that may have allowed Vancouver to keep the AAV down. In our eyes, this is fair for both sides. Marcus Petey is 29 years old, or he'll be 29 years old on July 1st, 2025. The contract goes on till he's 35 years old at $5.5 million. Normally, $5.5 million would be seen as something that's a little bit beefy, like it's approaching that $6 million territory. And we know that $6 million has been a meme for Vancouver Canucks fans over the years, from the Tyler Myerses to the Louis Ericssons. But with the cap going up to $100+ million over the next few years, 5.5 is fine, especially for a guy who can play projectable, defensively minded, stable shutdown hockey. This is not the kind of profile that ages poorly. And while Marcus Pettersson might not necessarily have the best puck-moving ability or the best offensive capability, he might not even be the fastest, at the end of the day, players who play the kind of game that Marcus Pettersson plays usually have long careers in the National Hockey League. Solid, defensively minded guys who can block shots, who can use their stick well, who can position themselves well in their own zone when the opposition has the puck. Marcus Pettersson has the hockey smarts to compete in this league. And paying him $5.5 million a year in his prime, while the cap is going up, while he doesn't play a game that's going to age poorly, I think it's a pretty solid contract. This is not like JT Miller, where it's like, oh, Miller plays a game that might age poorly because he relies on his speed, and he relies on his physicality, and he relies on his intensity, and his offensive prowess, and his skill, and as he gets older, he's not going to be as fast, and he's not going to be as capable of maintaining his physicality. Marcus Pettersson maintains his smarts. That's what makes him a valuable guy. And there are some replies going out here saying like, hey, isn't he 29 already? I mean, I don't really see him lasting until 34, 35. Not a terrible deal, but we'll have to see how he performs. Another person says here, what a fantastic contract. Looks like he gave the Canucks a discount. That is, I think, one of the bigger things here because AFP Analytics projected Marcus Pettersson at a $5.8 million contract extension. He ends up getting a 5.5. So that is a little bit less. It looks like he did take a bit of a discount to give it to Patrik Allvin and Jim Rutherford, say, hey, you guys believed in me, you guys are giving me a role here. And based off of what we had seen out of Marcus Pettersson in the first few games of his Canucks career, he's already giving Vancouver Hockey what they needed. Shutdown play that's very solid, that can get out there on the penalty kill some penalties, and just disrupt things offensively for the opposite team. I don't even think that he's like that bad of a breakout defenseman. I don't think that his puck-moving ability isn't too bad. Like, he had some plays, chipping it down, collecting it, giving it to areas where the Canucks can swoop in and take it up. I mean, the Canucks played a very good game against Colorado, and I think this game in particular, if a lot of that momentum carries into the next little while here, especially post face-off tournament break. Face-off tournament? What in the world is the thing called? Four Nations Face-Off Tournament. That's what it's called. The Four Nations. Yeah, I gotta get used to saying that. I'm just so used to saying the All-Star break. But after the Four Nations Face-Off Tournament, which we don't know if Quinn Hughes is going to participate in, by the way, JT Miller versus Elias Pettersson might only have that aspect to it. But if the Canucks are able to continue like they had played off against Detroit, which wasn't, the best, they didn't convert as much as they could have, but they still were there and they still shut down the play. They were still able to get it to overtime. And then they played off against Colorado, shut out Nathan MacKinnon and Cale Makar. If they're able to get this level of continuance with their game after the Four Nations face-off, then Marcus Pettersson is going to be proving why he cost that first-round pick and why Vancouver was so eager to keep this guy around. We know that their window of opportunity is right now. So, with Marcus Pettersson signed on for a while, with Quinn Hughes signed on for the next few years, with Elias Pettersson signed on for the next few years on an ELC, with Hronek also locked down, the Canucks have built their D-core and they have started to structure things for the next few years. And this deal definitely makes that trade, which we saw the Canucks pull off with Pittsburgh, that much more of a win. Obviously, it was only going to be a win if the Canucks found a way to re-sign Pettersson and eventually O'Connor, but it seems like O'Connor is next in line because there were already reports that they wanted to go out there and make that re-signing known. For Marcus Pettersson, we already knew that they wanted to do this, so it's not surprising, but it's still good to see. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below about the Canucks re-signing Marcus Pettersson. I hope you enjoyed this video. Sign on, and bye.